Sorry I'm late. I had to get a penicillin shot for my eyes. I caught the opening of the Olympics. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, so let's blow them off the line of screen. Hang on,
Live from the studios of the Ram Cave in the home of the Camellias, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the July 26, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right. So, I got on 1 minute late. I caught a glimpse of the Olympics, and we're going to be Olympic free here. This is an Olympic-free zone. There's nothing about the Olympics that I care about, nothing I want to know about. I don't care about the track and field. I don't care about the gymnastics. I don't care about the basketball team. I don't care about anything about the Olympics. So we're going to move right on there and get into the meat of this. We're going to talk NFL, the Rams, and, of course, around the NFL and other places. But we got to start out with a major bummerski. Derian Kendrick out for the year with the ACL. That's not news to you now. It broke yesterday. What a major bummerski, right? It's bad for the team, but it's worse for Kendrick. It was an opportunity for him to make a jump this year. He had that rookie year. Then he got a little bit better last year. They kept putting him out there, so they believe in him. And this was an opportunity for him to go to another level. Instead, he's going to miss the whole year. And then when he comes back next year, he'll have to make up for the time he's lost, work off the rust in a contract year. So it couldn't have come at a worse time for Derian Kendrick. And again, I think it's worse for him than the Rams. And then compounding everything a little bit, I guess towards the end of practice, Darius Williams came up limp with a little bit of a hamstring tweak. We're going to find out a little bit more about that. Maybe news is broken. Maybe news is broken on what an update is for Darius Williams. I see you guys lining up here, some questions. Willie Bowen, Steve Ramirez, thanks for chiming in. But it was so funny is that no sooner had I heard the news about Derian Kendrick than boom, everything in my timeline and my feed lit up about Ahkello Witherspoon being still out there, right? And, good thought. He'd be cheap. He's still out there. There are other cornerbacks on the market that'll be a little more expensive, but Witherspoon was here last year. He was solid, better in the first half than he was in the second half. Be great to bring him in and not have him play as many snaps so he's fresh the back half of the season. But alas, this morning, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported the Rams intended to ink Jerry Jacobs, who's a former Lion CB, 5'11", 200 pounds. He's 26, a lot of experience, was a UDFA for 3 seasons, played in Detroit out of Arkansas, had a decent start to his rookie year. But as his snaps increased, his production didn't really jump with it. So he hasn't improved since his rookie year. And he does the bulk of his work as a wide corner. He's not a slot guy. And if you remember, Kendrick was being talked about as being moved inside. PFF graded him 91 out of 127, which is like, oh no, what are we going to do? But for the record, PFF graded Kobe Durant at 92 out of 127. So it is interesting that right up front, you get 2 guys in the same room go down. And if you're a Ram fan, when you think about what happened in the offensive lineman room 2 years ago, it does make you a little leery, right? And then Kobe Turner had a tender groin, so they're treating him tenderly, which is fine. Kobe Turner doesn't need to prove anything. Let's just make sure he's healthy. I've had a groin pull before, and you think it's the end of the world. It's really bad. And then one day you wake up, and it's gone. And the only thing that's fearful is that for me, it went away as fast as it came, that I was always fearful it was going to return. And it's been over 30 years. And it was my fault for playing basketball outside in Sacramento over Christmas one year, not stretching. and then yanking that thing. So anyway, I hope I put that politely. Anyway, so they'll take their time with Kobe Turner. Bummer about Darian Kendrick, and of course we'll see about Darius Williams, right? And so there we go. So it doesn't look like Akilla Witherspoon is coming back. So there we go. Around the NFL and other places, I saw a big push again. We had just talked about this. I feel like we're ahead of the curve. We had just talked about this. There was a big push I saw in media today about Anthony Richardson needing to be who he is for Indy and running the ball, doing what he does best and all that stuff. And again, I'm reminded of what we said on Wednesday. Great, let him run. But you're forgetting he was bounced 4 of the 5 games he played in last year. He didn't finish. And you can talk about him being who he is, but, guy's not going to play 10 years. You just get 5 great years out of him. Right now, you got to see if you can get half a season out of Anthony Richardson. And I think you should force him. And I'm sick of this when they say, let them do what they do best. Hey, you know what you learn in life is that you don't just stick with what you know. You stick with what you know, and then you grow. And why don't they see if they can grow him into all-around NFL quarterback instead of running him until his legs drop off and then getting rid of him, right? It's obviously he has more passing talent than Tim Tebow. He has more passing talent, I think, maybe than Lamar Jackson. Why not develop the kid, hold back the run game on him, and see what he can do? Because he's got an electric arm. And right now, if you're in Indy, your backup quarterbacks are Joe Flacco, Sam Ehlinger, the former Texas guy, Keenan Slovis, who was the Bobby Bonds of college football. He played everywhere. Some dude named Jason Bean out of Kansas. Number 2, Cowboys put Trevon Diggs, who had the knee injury last year. He's on the PUP list. They expect him back by opening day. My thing with Trevon Diggs was even in the year he was in double-digit picks, you saw the yardage he was giving up. He is totally a feast or famine player. He is to cornerbacks what Dave Kingman was to hitters, right? Strikeout or home run. And I'm not a big Trevon Diggs fan. I think it's overhyped a little bit, but hope the guy gets healthy. Titans are giving former first-round Denver pick Shane Ray. Remember Shane Ray? First round back in 2015 to the Broncos. I think he got a ring, and now he's been bouncing around the league for the last 5 years. Titans are giving him another shot. And the Raiders have brought back their Nelson Spruce. If you remember that year, what was it, 2019, when they had their version of Hard Knocks and that disaster with Antonio Brown? Remember Keelan Doss was the feel-good story? Well, they brought him back again. Keelan Doss is 28, and I think in 6 NFL seasons, 5 NFL seasons, he has 17 catches, but a little bit better than Nelson Spruce. And then here's another one that I have to share because it's on me. Back in the 2021 draft, there was a LSU linebacker named Jabril Cox, and the Rams needed an off-ball linebacker. And I kept saying the Rams should take him at 57, Jabril Cox. Well, he wasn't taken at 57. He wasn't taken in the 2nd round, and he wasn't taken in the 3rd round. He wasn't taken until the 4th round by the Cowboys, 4th round, 116 overall. And I thought, oh, man, I'd like to get my hands on that guy. And, that guy's not very good. He was in Dallas, he was in Washington, and he was just signed by the Vikings. I hope he does well, but, sometimes we have to admit when we butcher something, and so glad I was wrong about Jabril Cox. Speaking of the Titans, they waived undrafted free agent running back Dylan Johnson, the kid from Washington. Remember, he was the portal transfer from Mississippi State, played at Washington last year, looked great, had a suspect knee. I remember Rams fans talking about, he'd be a great addition. This was before everyone knew Blake Corum was in the mix. And so he got signed by the Titans as a UDFA, and they've released him already. It's kind of a shame. It kind of tells you maybe he's just not ready to rumble anymore. And it just reminded me again, how quick the NFL just moves on, how quick football moves on. Jets, Hassan Reddick is holding out for a new contract. He's scheduled to make 15 rocks this year. I don't think it's so much about the money. I don't think you want to give him any more money, but I think he's looking for more years. And then kind of bad news for the Lions. Good news for teams competing against the Lions is the Lions have lost kicker Michael Badgley, former Charger, for the season with a hamstring tear. Yeah, and that opens the door to the spring darling, the Nelson Spruce of the kicking game in the UFL, Jake Bates. It's his job to lose there in Detroit. I almost said Pontiac. For the 49ers, Trent Williams is still holding out. Brandon Ayuk is still holding in, and we just hope that progresses in a great way. Love to see that happen. And then before we get to break here, right, I don't want to talk about the Olympics, but I was asked about it. I was out of town, and I never touched on it. How upset were you to see the Prince Harry get the Pat Tillman Award? Who is the jackwagon at ESPN that gave the Pat Tillman Award to Prince Harry? Help me, please, right? And then I just learned today, I don't know when it's happening. I just saw it before I came on. I guess Around the Horn is being canceled by ESPN. I guess being told you're racist, sexist, homophobic by a bunch of untalented sports writers turned people off. And that's probably why the show is going off the air. And that's only good for America. The more ESPN diminishes, it's good for America. It's good for sports. And maybe in some way, shape, or form, it gets resurrected in another format, not Around the Horn, but an all sports network dedicated to sports. There we go. I'm Joe Tarosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. Now I do RamView, and I write books. You can support us by liking, subscribing, hitting share here for RamView, maybe frequenting our sponsors, especially Kistler Law, and purchase my books. Some of you have, and I'm so grateful. You can pick that up on Amazon. Just type in Joe Tarosian. 2 football books. I got a third one. It's just in the pipeline, waiting for it to come out, and working on cover issues and copyright issues. Want to make sure we get it right. But you can check those books out on Amazon. And then I have you'll see that I'll out myself, is that I write Christian spec fiction, pretty much is what they would call it. And these things help me stay and allow me to keep doing my day job, where I pastor a small church in Burbank. And you can check us out right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual on Facebook, and all across social media. And so we got people hitting us with questions already. Willie Bowen, who will be the starting tight end, Parkinson or Allen? You know, people have said that. They've had this whole discussion, and I've heard it on some other podcast. I really don't see it as a starter. It's a finisher. What do they need at the end, right? I think Parkinson gives you a good blocker with some catching ability that we're going to find out, because it didn't get exploited in Seattle. Davis Allen, I see him as less of a blocker, but more of a threat as a receiver. So I see the Rams mixing and matching. When Gerald Everett was still with the Rams, those guys both got playing time, Higbee and Everett. Higbee became the favorite because he knew how to block, but Everett got great playing time. I think, didn't Everett score the winning touchdown in the KC game on Sunday night, or was that Monday night back in 2018? I thought Everett scored the winning touchdown there. And so I see the Rams mixing and matching them both. I do. That's how I see it, Willie. Steve Ramirez, Joe T time is 1 minute late. I know. I got everything set up. I went to clear the deck, got everything out of the way, and I'm a minute late. Sorry, Steve, my bad. USA Expat. If you're going to lose a starter for the season on the first day of training camp, luckily the team has a chance to react. That's right. Absolutely. That's the way to hit it. And there's some depth there. We're going to find out about THT, right? We're going to find out. You've heard some of these young UDFAs that they've signed, that they're saying some of them have talent. Cam McCutcheon is back. So that's the deep depth. But you still got Darius Williams. Trey White's been on the field. You got Kobe Durant, and so there's room here along with THT. That's 4 guys right there, and so if it had to happen, it's best it happened now. I think the Rams really were grateful for Ahkello Witherspoon, but they didn't want to go there this time around. So there we go. Let's see. Bill, did our new corner have 3 picks last year and a start? I thought I saw that. He started most of the season, I think, with Detroit. Of course, Detroit's secondary was really terrible last year. But yeah, he did. So he's experienced. And you need those guys who are going to participate on special teams, even if he doesn't get reps as a starter. Jim Everett. Is this Jim Everett? Is this the real Jim Everett? I need to know if this is the real Jim Everett. What's up, Joe T? I hope it's the real Jim Everett. You're getting me excited here. Jim Everett to Willie Bowen. Willie Bowen to Jim Everett. Okay. Bill, did the Rams take the Lions cornerback to give us some information about the Lions defense? Bill, I hadn't even gone there yet, but good call, right? Good call. Now, he's been out of the room. He's been out of the room since the end of last season, or since March 13th when the new season began. But that's a nice pull there, Bill. Good job. I didn't even think about that. Let's see. Willie Bowen, summer cold suck. Okay. Steve Ramirez, hardly ever watched Around the Horn. Sports writers on TV back in the 80s and on Prime Ticket were much better. Yeah, some of those great old shows, the sports writers in the morning, Lupica and everything. Those were really great shows to watch. I think John Saunders hosted them. And then there was the Telander. Was it Rick Telander hosted? Was it Sports Reporters or Sports Writers on Prime? That was a good show too. That was just four guys sitting around a lit table, looked like a poker table. And I think they were Chicago writers. I think one of them was Munson from the Sports Illustrated. Trying to remember those guys now. But yeah, I used to watch those all the time. I noticed it, Steve. Maybe you noticed it, but I just noticed the more time I spent, because when the mid grew and we got to go to other places and sit in press boxes, I just noticed that a lot of the people that I was around, they weren't happy about being sports writers. They had to constantly make comment about social issues, and it was like, man, I didn't get into writing at a paper because I wanted to make a comment about Washington, D.C. I got into it because I wanted to make comments about the Washington Redskins, right? I mean, first year I strung somewhere, the Redskins were winning a Super Bowl. That's the stuff I was interested in, but I always found that they were unsatisfied. Let's see, Jim Everett the Great, April 6th, 19, Rome was toast. Yeah, Rome burned. There we go. Willie Bowen burnt toast to Jim. Okay, I'm surprised Jim Rome survived that. That was one thing I never thought he'd survive. Okay, guys, keep the questions coming in. Saw a couple of interviews. Chris Shula. I like Chris Shula so far. I like the way he handles himself. Of course, that was not a problem with Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris did a great job and such in front of the camera. I didn't like him in 2022, and I didn't like him the first half of 2021. But the screws tightened at the end of 2021, and we won a Super Bowl. 2022, no matter how bad the team was, I was really frustrated that I just thought the defense was just way too soft, and you just had to make them earn it a little bit. So I wasn't happy. Last year, I thought the Rams played more press. I liked it. Chris Shula, I like the way he speaks. I like how he speaks highly of Cam Curl and Trey White. But again, the Rams have a history of bringing in character guys, right? They sound like they're character guys. They're leaders, and so that gives me real optimism, right? You've got those experienced guys in the secondary, and then you bring Johnny Johnson back into the mix, Darius Williams. Yeah, it makes me really optimistic. The weak spot for the Rams on defense, to me, just feels like the off-ball linebacker, and that's not because Ernest Jones is bad. I love Ernest Jones, but he doesn't have a running mate, and we don't have a backup if he pops a hammy. And that, to me, is the Rams' weak spot there. But really love how Chris Shula handles himself. And like that move. Mike LaFleur, I heard everything he said. Again, some of these questions are just cringy. It's like, okay, let's go back. I'm going to upset Steve Ramirez here. When you saw Deshaun Foster's press conference at Media Day for the Big Ten, it was pretty brutal, right? But some of the questions that followed afterwards were equally bad, right? It was cringe. And I'm watching LaFleur, and it's like, gosh, give me better questions, right? Give me some, are going to be wrinkles or schemes? Give me something, right? Instead, it was just a lot of, yeah, sure, we're looking good. Yeah, sure, we're really feeling good. And he doesn't have to answer anything. And it's not that I think LaFleur was obfuscating. It was just, there was no questions to answer. Give me some better questions. But I did love that part of his interview where he shared about the continuity. And I think we all touched on this in the spring when we knew D-Rob was coming back, is that we love the idea of the continuity between Stafford, Kupp, Nakua, and Robinson. That's exciting. Tell me that's not exciting going into this year with a bulked up offensive line that Stafford is throwing to receivers now he threw to last year. And then you add Tutu into that mix coming in and out. That's pretty cool. That is really, really something special there. And, you hope there's no injuries. You want to see Jordan Whittington develop. But you look at Kupp, Nakua, Robinson, and even Atwell, all having a familiarity with Stafford. It is pretty exciting going forward with the Rams. And I know we're going to establish the Rams are going to establish more of a running game this year, or look to establish it even more. But it is going to open up the passing game and probably open up the passing game for some big plays. It's exciting when you think about this, and I liked how LaFleur commented on it. Let's look at some more questions here. Let's see. Jim Everett the Great. Larry Krueger predicted Rams sweep the 49ers. Okay. I see a split. But I'll take a sweep. And you know what? Here's, again, something I'll say. I think the Rams beat them week 3 in SoFi. The Rams had them on the ropes a little bit in week 2 last year. If you remember the pass that went through Kyren Williams' hands that ended up in an interception, the Rams were in that game. And so they could have won that game last year along with several other games. This year they beat them. In SoFi. And I've given the week 15 game to Frisco, but Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, right? Christian McCaffrey. Are these guys going to be healthy in week 15? And so I could see the Rams stealing a game there. That is all very much possible. Biozia, Jim Everett, my favorite Ram of all time. If that's the real Jim Everett, the Jim Everett I saw when I went to training camp in 1988, then Jim Everett's going to climb the ranks of my all-time favorite Rams. That's all I'm saying. Bill, do you remember Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall weekly recap football show back in the 70s? Yeah, This Week in the NFL. That's what it was, right? And loved it. Yeah. They'd talk and they'd have that little thing. They'd go to the NFC West and we're talking about it and say, and then they'd go, okay, let's take the action here. And then you'd hear Brookshire say, this week in Seattle, the Los Angeles Rams, he'd say his thing, and love those shows. You know why we love those shows? And those shows are so, because it was like parceled out, it was like so limited when we could get those, right? And when the season ended, we couldn't find a YouTube, and there was no ESPN or NFL channel or classic sports channel, which ESPN killed, by the way. There were no channels to go to and see those things ever again, right? And so we just gobbled them up, and they became precious. I liked Summerall and Brookshire better as those guys. I didn't like them as an announcing team. I felt sometimes they did a little too much Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola. If you remember the NBC weekly game where they kept talking about, I wouldn't even known who Enos Country Slaughter was outside of the baseball register if I didn't have Kubek and Joe Garagiola talking and giving some quote about Enos Country Slaughter. And they were always talking about the old days. And, if someone's going to talk about the old days, I wanted to be Vin Scully, because Vin Scully was in a booth alone and he was talking to me and they weren't talking to each other. And I always felt Brookshire and Summerall talked to each other a lot. I liked Brookshire and Madden better. I like Summerall and Madden better. And there are times I click on a game that's on ESPN and you hear Summerall's voice, and it's like a time machine, and you forget how great that dude was. I mean, we talk a lot about Madden, but Summerall was great. Yeah, I did love those recap shows. Loved all the NFL Films music, March to the Trenches, Big Game America. Yeah, I'm down with all that, Bill. All of that. Willie Bowen, Jim Everett, Matt Stafford, Pat Hayden, Vince Ferragamo, Jeff Rutledge, Steve Kemp, Roman Gabriel. You don't have James Harris in there, Willie. There's no James Harris. I need James Harris. And you might want to give an asterisk to Steve Dills, who won in Chicago on a Monday night in 1986, in the first time the Rams-Bears played after losing the NFC Championship game. In 1986, the Rams won in Chicago. Steve Dills was the quarterback. I think he went like 5 for 26, but he led the team to a victory, and Mike Lansford kicked the winning field goal. That's just me. Dano, looking forward to seeing first-string offensive line. Unfortunately, it won't be till week 1. Yeah, I went out. I was at UCI last year, got to see it. That's where you really saw who Steve Avila was and everything. So if you get out to LMU and get a shot at it, that would be great. Let us know what you see. Doesn't look like I'm going to make it to LMU this year, but I am looking forward to seeing that. Biozio, do you remember George Michael's Sports Machine? I thought it was a tad bit cheesy. We're going to go on the Sports Machine, and he pushed the button. I thought it was a tad bit cheesy, but for a late, was it Sunday night or Saturday night? And I didn't have access to ESPN. I looked. The George Michael Sports Machine. Absolutely. I do remember the George Michael Sports Machine. The Santa Clara 49ers. Okay. There you go. USA Expat. The best thing about a solid running game is the old play action pass. Absolutely. And it's there, right? Yeah, it's there. I was going to make a comment about McVay using the play action and not running the ball. And he did that late in the 2018 season in the Super Bowl. He kept running play action, and they just weren't running the ball. And they need to run the ball. Even if you're getting 2 yards, to make play action work, you still got to run the ball. Jim Everett, Biozio, facts. Steve Ramirez, most of those questions at media days, you get those weird questions. I remember at one Pac-12 media day, someone asked Washington State coach Mike Leach which mascot would win in a 12 mascot fight. Yeah, there you go. Bingo. You got it, Steve. Tom Wilson, go woke, go broke. Yeah, I agree. You know, and it doesn't mean you can't have other beliefs. It's just, it's sports, right? It's sports. And then you get your Mina Kimes and your Sarah Spains and you get your all these other ones in there and these dudes that it's like, hey, bro, I don't want to hear about you. Jay Adonde, I don't want to hear. Even Plaschke. You know, Plaschke can't make mention every postseason and talk about how racist the tomahawk chop is. Man, every time I see Plaschke come on, man, I'm just going to do the tomahawk chop, right? Because it's not racist. But again, these gifted but lazy, low-hanging fruit sports writers wanting to feel more important always have to gin something up to create their self-importance. Leach's answer was awesome. I'd be curious to know what he said. Willie Bowen, the running game can be successful with help of a strong offensive line. Absolutely. Okay, Willie, you got James Harris in there. Thank you very, very much. All right. I think we're looking good right now. So I think we can go to this date.
It was a stone groove, my man.
This date in Rams history, July 26, 1949. The Rams sign a wide receiver / running back from the All-American Football Conference. That was the AAFC before it merged with the NFL. And this guy played for Chicago, and his name was Elroy Hirsch. And at the age of 26, he signed with the Rams in 1949. He caught 22 passes in 1949, 42 in 1950, and then he broke through with beginning his Hall of Fame run in 1951, the championship year for the Rams in Los Angeles. Get this, in 12 games, Elroy Hirsch caught 66 passes for 1,495 yards, averaged 22.7 yards a catch, and scored 17 touchdowns. And he did it in LA. No wonder he became a movie star, right? No wonder. And this guy went on, besides the Hall of Fame, became the Rams GM. And there's some mixed results there. And you wonder how much control he had when Allen got there and everything. But he became a Rams GM, became a movie star, became the athletic director at Wisconsin. I think he was the guy responsible for placing Barry Alvarez in position. I could be wrong on that. I'll take correction. But what a life Crazy Legs Hirsch had. And on this day in 1949, the Rams signed him from the Chicago team of the All-American Conference. On this day in 1953, the Rams traded a kicker they had drafted, didn't do any work for them, to the Redskins for a second-round pick in 1955, and it turned into running back Ron Waller. Who's Ron Waller? Ron Waller led the Rams with like 700 yards rushing on the 1955 team that was the last team to go to an NFL championship game in that era. The Rams didn't go to another championship game. We're not counting conference finals, but a Super Bowl until January of 80. And Ron Waller was that. He outrushed Deacon Dantaller and Tank Younger that year. Rams lost to the Browns as usual. If you look at the highlights, he wore number 27. On this day in 1972, Rams ownership officially transferred from Robert Irsay to Carol Rosenblum, and all of the Rams people say amen. Could you imagine how sick it would have been to have Robert Irsay? Now, Rosenblum had his ups and downs, right? But Robert Irsay, whoa, he was bad. He was real bad. And the Rams avoided that. And here's something else that popped in. Well, let's get through the date. Born on this day in 1920 was Bob Waterfield, which means he'd be 105 today. Born on this day was wide receiver Tommy McDonald, the last one to play without a face mask. He's a Hall of Famer. He spent 2 years with the Rams, scored 11 touchdowns, had a great 1965, 67 catches, a great 1966, 55. And then the Rams traded him to the Falcons for a 4th-round pick. And then the Rams sent that pick back to Atlanta for a middle linebacker and a 6th-round pick. That middle linebacker was a guy named Dick Abisher. The Falcons had drafted Tommy Prothro. They didn't need this guy. But within 7 months, the Rams realized that Abisher wasn't the guy, and they sold him to New Orleans. Abisher became their starting linebacker for 2 years, and then his career petered out. But the Falcons took that 4th-round pick that the Rams had sent back to them, and they used it on a tight end named Jim Mitchell. And Jim Mitchell played 11 seasons in the NFL, all with Atlanta, made 2 Pro Bowls, caught 300 passes for 28 TDs. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot now, but 300 passes for a tight end in that era was amazing. Jim Mitchell was an excellent, excellent tight end. Also, celebrating his 28th birthday today is former Ram wide receiver Van Jefferson. And the one thing I wanted to get into that I thought was kind of interesting, on this day in 1975, the Rams sent a draft pick that didn't amount to anything. I don't even think they sent it in the end. They traded a draft pick to the Kansas City Chiefs for a backup quarterback named Dean Carlson. And Carlson threw 15 passes for the Chiefs in 74, completed 7, threw 1 pick, never threw a touchdown pass in his NFL career. But here's the interesting thing about Carlson. It doesn't have much to do with the Rams, but before the Rams traded for him in 1974, the Chiefs traded Carlson to the Packers for a 3rd-round pick. Within less than a month, the Packers gave Carlson his release, and he returned to the Chiefs. But here's the thing. The Packers gave a 3rd-round pick in 1976 up to the Chiefs for Dean Carlson. Remember, they also gave huge draft picks to the Rams for John Hadle. They had no clue about their draft picks, right? And here's the interesting thing about that draft pick. Again, nothing to do with the Rams. That 3rd-round pick in 1976, the Chiefs used on a safety named Gary Barbero. He played 7 seasons in Kansas City, made 3 Pro Bowls, picked off 39 passes, scored 3 touchdowns, one of them on a 102-yard interception return. And then he left the team in 83 to join the USFL, and then that was the end of his career. But that's what they got for Dean Carlson. I was looking at those notes today, and it blew me away. I could not believe it. Tomorrow is the 8th anniversary of the Rams releasing Nick Foles, July 27th, 2016. And we got to watch it over the phone on Hard Knocks. I guess because it was over the phone, Hard Knocks showed it because they don't like to show players getting cut anymore. That's why it's called Soft Knocks now. On this date in 2020, the Rams released Arizona Cardinal contributor at wide receiver Greg Dortch. Tomorrow, born in 1939, July 27th, was Irv Cross, and in 1947, Bob Klein. And passing away on July 27th, 2021, was Tony Guillory. Tony Guillory was the guy famous for getting the block punt against the Packers in 1967 that led to Roman Gabriel's touchdown pass to Bernie Casey that really kind of signaled the arrival of George Allen and the new Rams in 1967. And I remember hearing, of course, I didn't hear it live, but KMPC way back in the day played the final minutes of that game, and you could just hear Enberg's voice yelling, "It's blocked by Guillory." It was an amazing thing to listen to. I think that's it. I think we got it all in there. Yeah. And a good day for all Ram fans on Sunday. This Sunday will mark the 44th anniversary of the Rams releasing of Eddie Brown, the safety. Isn't that good news? There we go. That's good news. All right, let's see what we got here. Bill, I watched the Lions-Rams playoff game, and I saw how badly Witherspoon played. I think this left a bad taste in McVay's mouth. You know, there was talk about Witherspoon all year, and then it kind of highlighted in the second. His second half wasn't great, right? His second half wasn't great. He kind of runs out of gas, and this is a guy that had a lot of injuries. That's why teams like the Steelers and others gave up on him. And, he just seemed like he ran out of gas towards the end of the year. Yeah, that was a good call there, Bill. Willie Bowen, Crazy Legs Hirsch, and Steve Ramirez. Rosenblum also took the Super Bowl V trophy to L.A. Colts had to go to court to get it back. I did not know that, Steve. That's a great story. Did not know that. Wow, that is a cool story. That's pretty good. Let's see here. Willie Bowen, how many LA Rams that's in the NFL Hall of Fame? As LA Rams, Jones, Deacon, Merlin, right? Deacon, Merlin, Mack. Who else? We could say Van Brocklin. We could say Bob Waterfield. We could say Elroy Hirsch. We could say Tom Fears, if we're going back that far. I think that's fair. I think Andy Robustelli is in the Hall of Fame, and he played, 2-3 years for the Rams. Jackie Slater, there was a Ram. We did get Jack Youngblood in there. All right. Let's see. Manuel Correa. Imagine if management could have taken care of Everett and Dickerson. Yeah, I think so. What could have been, right? What could have been? I will say this. When Everett came in '86, up and through the '89 season, it looked like we were set for the next 10 years at quarterback. And it was pretty speedy. You had Zampese running the offense. You had Flipper. You had Ellard. You had Greg Bell. Now, I liked Greg Bell, but he wasn't, of course, Eric Dickerson. Imagine if these things had worked out and such. And all those players that we just mentioned, none of them came in the Dickerson deal, right? Because the Rams butchered all those deals. But then you're running Damone Johnson as your blocking tight end, Holohan as your catching tight end. Those were hard years when you think back and how close they were. Les Richter is in the Hall of Fame. There you go. There's another Ram that was in there. Did Del Schaffner ever make the Hall of Fame? I don't know if he did or not. There we go. All right. 37 minutes. Man, I zipped through this show. I zipped through it. Anything you guys want to talk about right now? I think there's some stuff I didn't talk about, but happy to get into it. Sunday is the anniversary in 2011. The Rams signed undrafted free agent long snapper named Jake McQuaid, and he gave the Rams close to 10 years as the long snapper. Jake McQuaid was really good for the Rams. It was so marvelous that for almost a decade, you knew you had Zerline, Hecker, and McQuaid. You didn't even have to think about those things. And, that was good stuff. Let me look through some of the other stuff here. I think I mentioned everything. I think I did. And I know I did. There we go. Unless you want me to mention that on this day, 18 years ago, the Rams relieved Jeff Smoker. All right. I don't know if the Michigan State quarterback's that important. Favorite Rams kicker? Well, in LA, in my lifetime, it's Lansford because he kicked the big ones. In history, it's the dude in St. Louis, Jeff Wilkins. That guy's one of the greatest kickers in NFL history, Jeff Wilkins. And because the Rams were so bad for so long, no one's really remembering him. But, he should be on some short list of NFL kickers that are waiting to get into the Hall of Fame. Jeff Wilkins was a great, great kicker. Frank Corral? No, Frank Corral wasn't my guy. Biozio, technically 23 Rams in the Hall of Fame. There we go. Willie Bowen, LA Rams female cheerleaders, the Sunbeams. I thought they were called the Embraceable U's. Weren't they called the Embraceable U's? Biozio, Zerline. Hey, you make the kick in New Orleans that beats the Saints, I'm all down. I'm not going to argue. Richard Ramos, he runs Lansford with me, right? That barefoot. I actually got to interview Mike Lansford. Pretty good dude. Went to Arcadia High School. He told me a few stories. Good stuff. Was Lansford the last barefoot kicker? Did Nick Lowry last into the 90s? Because Lansford was pretty much done after the Rams went to Tony's and Dejas. Nick Lowry was barefoot, and he went to the Jets, I think, after he left the Chiefs. But didn't he last into the mid-90s? And then I'll take correction on that. Hey, guys, I just got to let you know again, next week I'm going to do my best to go on the air because there's so much to talk about. And when you don't go on the air at this time of year, everything just piles up. So I'm going to work really hard about getting on the air. I can't guarantee what time I'm going to get on, but I'll be at camp one more time. I'll be at youth camp up at Granite Ridge, working with some teenagers, and so I'm going to be on when I can be on, and then on the road after I get back. I'm leaving on August 4th on a 3-week road trip to Gettysburg with my brother, and I'll be staying at some hotels. Actually, I'm staying at Steeler fan Rob's house in Missouri for a night or two there. So I'll be on the air when I'm there, and we'll get a session or two covered while we're there, and then I'll be in a hotel room in Gettysburg for a week. I'll get a couple of sessions on in there, and we'll get some broadcasts in. They might be back to back. They might be 2 or 3 days apart. And they definitely won't be in the Ram Cave. You're just going to have to do the backdrop of either my brother, in his underwear, or just a hotel room. So want to make sure you guys know that. But yeah, 3 weeks on the road. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a long trip, but just want to make sure you guys are aware and keep checking in. And yeah, all right. 41 minutes in. I got all my stuff out. Let's see. Bios, I loved the Zendejas restaurants. Used to go there to watch Rams games when they did not show on TV because the game did not sell out. Zendejas restaurants was one of the first sports bars around. Hey, was that the one in San Dimas? Did they have more than the one in San Dimas? Is it still there in San Dimas? I used to work at the Standard Brands across the parking lot from that place. And I remember passing it because there was a B. Dalton bookstore I applied to way back in the day. Didn't get the job there. I got the job at Standard Brands, but I never really had a chance to hang out at Zendejas. So Steve Ramirez, I'll say hi to Longstreet for you. Yeah. He, let's see if he can finally give Pickett a clear answer there about going. Poor Longstreet. Dano, Matt Gay for me. Kicking the Superdome was clutch. Love Matt Gay. All into Matt Gay. Only time in my life someone will ask me and I say, yeah, I'm gay. I'm for gay. Yeah, there we go. Love Matt Gay. In fact, one of my guys that watches one of the Mid-Valley guys that watches football games with me, every time Gay made an extra point or kicked a field goal, he just yelled pride. So Biozayo, yes, Ontario and Upland. Oh, so there's 3 of them. Okay, I did not know that. I thought the only one was in San Dimas. All right. Let's see here. Do we have anything else? Hey, okay, I wanted to ask this question before I go. I'm going to end at 45 minutes here, but we still got an audience. You guys are hanging with me after I ran out of material. Hey, why did Prince Harry, get the Pat Tillman Award? What was the argument for that? Does anybody know? I was out of town. I was at working kids camp, but why did Prince Harry get the Pat Tillman Award? I'm kind of curious. What did he do, right? Was it meritorious service in the wake of climate change or something? I'm trying to think what selfless act that Prince Harry did, right? Let me know about that one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. The story in the book's finished. I just have to be real careful with the cover. And so my book guy, Blackheart Art, who does my books, covers, we just had to be really careful about copyright issues. Nothing's worse than getting a book out, then sending you a notification. It hasn't happened to me. It has happened to friends where the book passed some infringement that said it couldn't be sold, so had to be pulled from the market. We don't want to do that, so we're playing the long game. And but the book is called Game Day in the Ram Cave. It is a novel. It's about friends watching Rams playing the Packers in the NFC Championship game, and just all the stuff you go through because. I don't know about you, but I don't believe in a spiritual karma. I do believe in a sports karma. And I believe there are some people you can't watch a game with because they bring bad mojo into the room. There are some people you can't let hold the football because they just give the Rams bad luck or bad mojo or jinx, as we call it. I believe there is difference between, bad mojo and being bad luck, and so we break that all down and all the stuff that we've gone through. Most of them are stories from my life and the life of others of people trying to watch a football game. So there we go. All right, let's see. Bio's out. He created an award for wounded veterans, so they gave one to him. Okay. If you say so, I guess that's cool. To me, I imagine there are a lot of people you could. Does Gary Sinise ever won that award? But we'll give it to Prince Harry, right? He survived being married to Meghan. There we go. Yes, Zendejas is still in San Dimas and still open. Richard Ramos. Is the food good there? Is it good Mexican food? Is it? I mean, I know they're Mexican, but is it good Mexican food? It's not like Acapulco's, right? And I don't even like El Torito's, man. To me, I got high standards for Mexican food, right? And generally the best stuff for Mexican food these days is sometimes it's the stuff you're getting off the food trucks in your neighborhood. And I got a great one near me. So yeah, I'm going to have to go to Zendejas one of these days. All right, guys, I went 45. Sorry, I ran out of material. Maybe I just spoke too fast. Thank you for clicking on. It's been a pleasure hanging with you guys today and this week. As Ram stuff breaks, we'll talk, we'll go, and just be patient with me. I will do my best to be on the air next week, but might be in different time slots. I got to take it when I can get it, and I don't know if I'm going to have too many people around me and stuff. So, all right, Tim Powers, Avila's in the OC. Oh, is that good Mexican food? All right. Does the OC have good Mexican food? I'm thinking Mexican. I'm thinking San Gabriel Valley. That's what I'm thinking, right? Manuel Carrillo, Willie Take. I don't know which one that is. Richard Ramos. He must be a very good soccer player. Oh, Willie Take. Okay. And Willie Bowen. Take care, Ramily. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks for everything. Thanks for clicking on. Let's go Rams. And I will be talking to you guys. Willie, take care, amigo. There we go. Oh, most excellent. I get from Mr. Powers about Avila's. Okay. All right, guys. God bless. Take care. Hang out. We'll see you soon.